Hi, welcome back to the channel on the college process. Once again, I'm Ed from Principia Prep, and today we're going to be going over what to know if you were selected for financial aid verification and what it means and what you need to do. But before we start, if you are new to the channel and are looking for additional college content, please hit the subscription button down below. It will notify you when new videos do come out. As well as if you have any comments or questions throughout today's video, please leave them down below in the comment section. I do answer all the questions and comments you guys leave down below. As well as, once again, for the senior class of 21-22 senior year, academic year, we are once again running the James Memorial Scholarship. If you want to be eligible for that, once again, in the description down below is the video for the James Memorial Scholarship to explain to you guys for senior class this year how to apply for that scholarship. As well as in the description down below is also the organization's Venmo, as well as our buy us a coffee if you want to help support the channel to allow us to keep making these college videos for you guys out there. And today we're going to be going over what to know if you were selected for financial aid verification and what it means and what you need to do. Now, many of you are probably wondering, why were we selected for verification? Why are they asking for tax documents? Did we do something wrong? Right off the bat, just need to make sure everyone relaxes. Most of you guys didn't do anything wrong. There's not a big thing that happens. A lot of you guys get selected just randomly, to be honest with you. In addition to that, some people wonder, are we going to be in trouble because of this right here? Obviously, maybe we made an error on the form. Maybe it was intentional. Maybe it was intentional error. Are we going to be in trouble? Are we going to get fined? Are we going to see jail time? So on and so forth. And to that I say, just relax. Don't worry. If you forgot to put that your student has $500 in savings bonds because you forgot about it because it was in a drawer kind of scenario, nothing is going to happen. The $20,000 fines, the imprisonment, so on and so forth, these things only happen typically if you guys do egregious errors on the form, and they're basically intentional egregious errors on these forms. Now, right off the bat, let's start off with what is verification. Now, verification is either the federal government, the U.S. Department of Education, the state you reside in, the state agency that is providing college assistance as far as financial aid grants or loans, scholarships, so on and so forth, or in many cases also the institution the college your student's looking to go to. Verification is their way of basically checking all the information you guys put on the financial aid forms. Now, there's multiple different versions of verification. I'm going to go through some of them here today in the video, explain to you guys how they work, why you were selected, so on and so forth. That being said, now that we know that verification is basically their way of just checking our information on the financial aid forms and also some other verification aspects as well, let's talk about how you were selected or why you were selected. Now, right off the bat, verification works in various formats. Now, to start off with, some of you were just randomly selected. In many cases, a lot of you guys are just basically picked out of a lottery, essentially, of all the FAFSA forms that came in, the financial aid forms, and basically selected by the U.S. Department of Education and then told to the college, please verify all the information these people put on the financial aid forms to make sure everything is correct. So in many cases, you were just unfortunate to hit that lottery you really don't want to hit because it just means you're doing more paperwork, but it doesn't actually mean anything bad is happening here. It's just standard process. In addition, if you're receiving any federal aid as far as any Pell Grants, any SEOG money, or anything free from the federal government on the grant side, or if you're receiving any state aid, any state grants from the state that you reside in because your student's staying in state and going to college in that state that you reside in, then more than likely the reason you guys were selected is because you're getting the Pell Grants, the SEOG, or the state aid. What's happening nowadays is any student nowadays who's getting federal or state aid is typically verified. It just happens across the board. It's standard process. So if you are getting federal funding in grants or if you're getting state funding in grants, very likely this is the reason you were selected. And another reason you were selected is because of the fact that the assets you indicated on your financial aid forms don't match up with the interest and dividends showing up on your taxes. I'll be explaining that one in a moment. That's typically what they're going to ask you here is asset verification form instead of a household dependent verification form. And don't worry, I'm going to go over both those forms. You don't understand what either one of those are. Now, right off the bat, if you're not sure who selected you or even what they want from you, but you've been selected because you received an email, your student received an email, or the parent received an email indicating we need more information from you, you've been verified, very simple. All you do is call the financial aid office and ask them right over the phone, we've been selected for verification. They'll pull up your student's file and it'll show them what verification they're looking for. And like I mentioned before, there's basically two standard verifications that most families fall into. There are other ones, other subsegments, but for this video, I'm going to talk about the two main ones. The first verification many of you will fall into is called a household verification form, which basically is their way of checking how many people in the household, how many people going to college, what are their ages, and that form is also going to ask you, did the parents file a tax return and did the students file a tax return, and want you to check off yes or no. And if the student didn't do a tax return or if the parent didn't do a tax return, it will ask you, did you make any money? And if you did, they want you to turn in your W-2s in lieu of basically your tax return. Now, if you didn't do tax returns, in some cases for students and parents, they will ask you to contact the IRS office and get what's known as a non-tax filer statement. This is standard practice, by the way. This happens a lot. from a lot of colleges. The student's not working, they want to make sure that the IRS doesn't have a tax return in their system for them, as well as definitely for the parents if you are not filing taxes for whatever reason. Through verification, if you are doing the household dependency form and you indicate you're not filing taxes, they will ask you guys to get a non-tax filer statement from the IRS. It's easy enough to get. All you do is basically write down here, I have the link, you go to the IRS site, you log in, you create an account, and it'll be able to get it'll allow you to get essentially the non-filer statement. It's very easy to get. You can just get a PDF version of it right there online and then just basically send it off to the college with the verification form you guys are filling out. Now, in addition to the verification household form, they're typically going to ask you guys for a 1040 tax return transcript. Now, the tax return transcript is basically the IRS copy of your tax return. In addition to the IRS 1040 tax return transcript, they will ask parents for their W-2s. So if you are verified for household verification, they're going to ask you for, obviously, filling out the form, and this is obviously on the side. I've been showing you guys here what the form typically looks like. That's going to ask you for how many people in the household, what their ages are, who's going to college as far as the students going to college, who's filed taxes, who hasn't filed taxes. In addition to the household dependent verification form, they will also ask you guys typically for the 1040 tax return transcript and your W-2s. To get the 1040 tax return transcript as well as a non-tax filer statement from the IRS, very simple. Right here is the site. Just go here. It's in the description down below. I have the site link as well. The irs.gov site. Here you can get the non-filer statement if you didn't file, as well as a tax return transcript. Now, there's two tax return transcripts, by the way. There's a tax return transcript and a tax account transcript. You do not want the tax account transcript. You want the tax return transcript. That's what the colleges want. Now, that's number one verification process many of you will fall into. The second verification process many of you will fall into after the first one, which is typically a lot of you, if not all of you, is the second group they typically will send out verification for. It's called the asset verification form. As you see here, I have one of them right here for a college here indicating what forms, what items are looking for from you. Now, typically if you get an asset verification form, it's because they're looking at your financial aid forms and something doesn't make sense to them. Either you're not showing enough assets as far as cash or savings or investments or money in retirement or any rental property because they have a copy of your taxes already and they're looking everything over and the numbers just don't basically mesh together for them. So they're sending you this form here to make sure whatever numbers you put on the financial aid forms also match up with the numbers that you have yourself, obviously. And let me give you an example. Now, let's say you fill out all the financial aid forms and you said you had $1,000 in cash and savings. That's all the money you had. But the college got the financial aid forms as well as your taxes because they asked for them throughout the entire process. A lot of schools will ask for these forms, by the way. And they look at your tax returns, and your tax returns are showing that you made $10,000 of interest. Now, obviously, that doesn't make any sense in the world of college where you have $1,000 in cash and savings and you made $10,000 in interest. Something doesn't make sense here. They're going to definitely send you guys an asset verification form like this one right here. And it's going to ask you to go through each line and indicate, do you have these items? Do you have these things? Do you have cash? Do you have CDs? Do you have any money market? Do you have any UTMAs, any UGMAs? Do you have any gold? Do you have any commodities? Do you have any stocks? So to go through the whole form here, it does not want you leaving any lines blank. If you don't have any of the certain items like gold or silver, etc., it wants you to put 0 there. At the bottom of this form here, all at the bottom, it asks you and the student to sign the form, indicating to them that yes, we've gone through this whole process, and yes, we don't have any additional items. These are all the items we have type scenario. There is on here a spot where you can write a comment. Let's just say you did have a bunch of money, then you ended up going out and buying a house. Then obviously you can explain that on this form right here. Or you had a bunch of money and all of a sudden it had to be used for medical expenses or the roof or foundation or natural disaster type scenario. That also is very easy to explain. So if you're scared, we forgot to tell them we had $100,000 last year, but we used it all up because of medical expenses or buying a car or fixing the roof, natural disaster, or unable to work because of COVID, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing to worry about here. That's a very easy, explainable situation. So if you have to fill out the asset verification form, don't be afraid. You can fill it out. It's not a problem. Now, obviously, there are additional verification forms to the household dependent verification form as well as the asset verification form. These are just the two most important, the two biggest, the ones utilized by most colleges. There are verification forms that are required for U.S. citizenship or permanent resident. There are also verification forms of checking to see if you graduated high school. But these are kind of sub-segments of the usual verification, which are these two right here, the two most important ones that go out. The biggest ones ones that go out to everyone. Now, if you're wondering, if we made errors in the Fafsa form, can we correct this? Yes, you can. There's no issue here. The people that get in trouble, the ones that kind of end up in this situation here, the fines and the jail time, are the ones that do egregious things like make up fake tax returns or pretend they don't have any assets when they actually have millions of dollars, and create different statements or fake statements to send to the colleges to show that these things don't exist. That's when you get in trouble. When you start creating documents, that's when you kind of crossed over the line. So if you made egregious errors, like you actually had a tax return showing you guys made $200,000, but you send the university a tax return saying you made $50,000, then obviously that's a totally different situation here. That's when this comes into play. And yes, jail time as well as fines can be levied upon you. But all that being said, if you're unsure about what you're doing or you need help, I do provide here at the end of my video my contact information. You can contact me if you have a special circumstance or if you need help with your verification. I can walk through your stuff and kind of see what you need help with and what you don't need help with. And all of that being said, I'd like to thank everyone for watching today's video on the verification process and typically how it works for most of you families out there. Once again, if you were verified, I would not be worried about it. It's not that big of a deal. It's almost standard place now for everyone to get verified. In fact, some colleges automatically 100% verify all students. So some of the colleges you're looking at will verify everyone anyways, whether your form is 100% correct or completely incorrect. So don't worry about that. Not a big deal. Happens all the time. And that being said, if you do like today's video, please leave us a like. It does help the channel. As well as if you have any comments or questions, please leave them down below. I do answer all the comments and questions you guys leave down below in the comment section. We are once again running the James Russo Memorial Scholarship. If you want to be eligible for that, once again in the description down below is the video for the James Russo Memorial Scholarship to explain to you guys for senior class this year how to apply for that scholarship. As well as in the description down below is also the organization's Venmo, as well as our Buy Us a Coffee if you want to help support the channel to allow us to keep making these college videos for you guys out there. And all that being said, once again, on the screen is my contact information. As I mentioned before, if you need help with the verification process or any part of the admissions or financial aid process, very simple. On the screen is my cell phone. You can either text me or call me, or even just send me an email if you need help with any part of the process. Other than that, thank you for watching today's video. Once again, I'm Ed from Principia Prep.